and Ernest for coming over. Oh, this is a lot of work, y'all. This is a lot of freaking work just to get this stuff. We just got to, got to get it set up so we've got a nice, easy.
I envy people who have a studio.
Yeah, no kidding, right? We can work on that. I think we can make that happen.
Yeah, that'd be
All
great.
right, so officially I get to turn the sign on now.
Yeah, there you go.
The bar is open.
Yes.
Bar is open. So anyway, welcome. This is kind of episode 3 in a little series I started with Ernest. We're live streaming too, but we will have edited content that's going to be a little more digestible. So those of you who are watching on the live stream, I will acknowledge as I can, and but just don't be offended if I don't say anything, because I've got some topics I want to get through. The last time we were here, obviously we've switched camera angles now, so now we're inside the bar. It was supposed to sprinkle a little bit, and sprinkling a little bit. And want to make sure we didn't get the equipment wet. So, cheers, Adam. Excuse me. Been fighting a sinus thing, so if my voice is a little hard or I got a cough, I apologize. I'm going to try to warn you, and we'll catch it in post. Right, Ernest?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ernest is the best. So anyway, so I watched the edited episode 2, and I watched the end of it because I just kind of wanted to make sure we had some continuation with the story. Thanks, Em. And so I kind of want to get reacquainted with where we kind of left off, and trying to, you asked, what's the topic for tonight? Well, it's kind of a continuation of where we left off, right? That's always kind of the message we want to kind of convey. But I want to talk today I'd like to talk
Pacifically
on the Atlantic side.
Yes.
Specifically, I want to get more into. We dabbled a little bit in it, but I want to get more into perspective of faith, how my religious experiences as a young man, as a teen, into an adult, and like we got into some of that. I want to get a little deeper in some aspects of it, and I want to hopefully connect it to the community piece that is ultimately where I find myself now, and again, hoping that we can make the connection from the pieces of this community that are so enchanting for me, right? The humanity piece. And I think it's enchanting for everybody, right? It's that connectivity that I've talked to before. But I want to kind of draw some correlation there, and in hopes that I can, again, try to distill my faith through this. So I'm really hoping that Ernest has some really good wisdom for me today, because it's tough. So anyway, so back to where we left off. So we talked a little bit about we did finish with that poor Christmas, and I did talk a lot about the guys that were part of that. You did like that. I'm glad you like that. That's a pretty special whiskey, and I can't wait to see how this year turns out. But I had delved into a little bit about kind of the guys that I started Storytime with, and again, they were very in with the idea of what I was trying to accomplish, and I think that the vision and the mission hasn't changed at all, literally at 0. And I think the reality of life challenges sometimes your virtues, right? And so you're faced with decisions of self-preservation and all of these things. And then your virtues have to hang in the balance. Cheers, Will. I know Will's a new guy a new guy for me anyway in the community. I was fortunate to meet him at a pickup that we did at Christmas. And, he's battling some health stuff, and I'm sure he's doing well because he's just that type of guy. Anyway, cheers to you, Brian. So that's kind of what happened, right? So I think that these guys were, and I'm not going to speculate. I don't want to speak for them per se. All I can speak to is that the message was that life had become busy for one reason or another, and for one reason or another, and it's their reasons to have, they needed to separate from what I was doing, and it really, again, that's kind of what bubbles this whole thing up for me, and causes me to question a lot of things, both spiritually and socially. Is how do we get to those decision points where virtue takes a back seat to personal preservation? And I don't begrudge or condemn anybody for making those decisions. I've made them many times myself, where I could look back and go, wow, the more virtuous decision may have been this other thing, or instead of making a move to kind of further my career, and basically put my family in a bit of a stressful situation. Maybe virtuously, I would have subscribed to the old adage of being, a 9-to-5 type dad who comes home and does all the things and whatnot. So, and I don't regret the decisions I've made. I just don't. Even the bad ones, and I've made some bad ones. That if I was put in a position to make that same decision today, I would make a different one for sure. Sorry, I'm going to turn a little bit because I'd rather look at you.
Yeah, well, I think we all have points in our life where not necessarily regrets, but things that we would have done differently.
Yeah, for sure.
Or a different decision than the one we made. But you don't know at the time,
right?
So you go with what you know and what you have, and hope for the best.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, and that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Right? So I move past that, and then I get to this point. I know we got it's kind of muggy out, and bugs are flying around. Although last time we did have the nice cherry blossom snowfall, that was really nice. Don't have that now. That's turned into rainy, browny mess. But anyway, so it causes you to question a lot of things, and I go back to many points in my life where all the good intentions in the world were there with people, but yet decisions they made sacrificed others for their own benefit. And that's not what I'm saying happened in all story time per se. I'm just saying that's what I can point back to. I can look back, like in church, when I saw decisions being made by leaders within the church, and then the destruction in other people's lives that it leaves. And you got to sit there, to me, you've got to question it. When I say you, I'm being me. I've got to question it when I see that. I've got to question what's really happening. Who's serving who in the name of what, and what is the result, right? So the challenge becomes, how do I continue to make decisions that both support the vision and the mission, and also support those people around me and don't leave them hanging. And there's always a balance. There's always a challenge with that. It's tough. It's really tough. Um, yeah, it's just really tough.
Well, I think that's a difference that we've seen in society now. Is it's become more about self than about others. So in this day and age, it is all about you. You know,
Yeah,
it's your world. Everybody else is just living in it.
yeah,
And
that's what I tell myself.
you deserve this. You deserve that. You deserve everything.
Right?
Uh, that's not necessarily true.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, and that's shit. We see that with the youth of today, right? Where they think the entitlement idea.
Not just
Yeah.
you.
Well, that's true. That's true. It's not. It is just really evident because it
Oh yeah.
it scales, right? Like you look at what my parents, how they were raised. You look how then I was raised. You look how it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And I'll never forget. As a young man, you think about, okay, I'm going to be a father, and what are the principles and what is the message that that I carry? What is the banner
Mhm.
that I march under as a father? And I know you're going to agree and say that you thought the same thing, and I think every parent does. I want to make it better for my kid than I had it, right? I want it better for my child
Oh, absolutely.
than I had it.
Absolutely.
And what a mistake is that? I mean, honestly, what a mistake is that? That is
Yeah.
a huge. For a couple things. Number one, it totally disrespects my parents and says they were shit, and I don't want it that bad. It's got to be better than my parents. Now, granted, I had some situations that were not good growing up,
Mhm.
but not bad. I was still very lucky, very fortunate. I was adopted. We went through all this
Right.
before, and I had parents that loved me in the way that they loved me, cared for me, and took care of me, made sure I had what I needed to have. I didn't go without, really. Um, then you come to my kids, right? And this message resonates. I got to make sure that my kids have it better than I did.
Mhm.
And so,
I don't think it's necessarily disrespectful of our parents, because I know, when my kids, if they have kids, I want them to be better off than what my kids were and what I am. So, I'd just like to see that.
yeah. Well,
I think that's part of a legacy as well.
Yeah. I guess it depends on what you define better as. I think the easy definition is materialistic,
Yes.
right?
It
Because
is.
that's the ease of life.
Yes.
I don't have to want for anything. I've got the latest shoes. I've got the latest clothes. I've got
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So that's I think that's commonly when that statement is made. That's a lot of what resonates. Is, oh, I want to have.
Yeah. But for me, I'm the first generation that broke the cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So you did abuse your kids.
No.
Oh no, it was the other way around.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
They abused me.
Fair enough.
No.
Fair enough.
No, I mean,
Cheers, man.
my mother went through abuse, but
Yeah.
Then with me, my generation, that well, not the entire family, but she broke that cycle with me.
Yeah.
Then I didn't perpetuate that,
Yeah.
so I'm better off because my life was better than my mother's growing up.
Yeah.
And then my kids.
But better how? What's the metric you're using to say better?
Loving family, no abuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No divorce.
Oh, okay.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm one of the very few that hasn't been divorced.
Dude, you're one of the few in the whole United States, bro. David Bay's cheers, buddy. Yeah, I mean, so I guess there's definitely some metrics to put around that. What do you define better as? And again, all of this kind of filters into this faith discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Is the scripture, it was very clear when it said it is easier for a man to pass through an eye of needle
Mm-hmm. to get into the kingdom of God.
and then to get into the kingdom of God.
Mhm.
Rich man.
Yeah. Yep.
Rich man.
Yes.
So, in a rich man back then, shoot, he was nothing compared to what a rich man of today is. The power and impact and influence one had back then was not nearly as
I don't know.
expansive as it is today.
I know. I don't know. I think it's. Yeah, I think it's relative to that society.
Well, true, relative, but I'm just saying, like, you think the ease at which someone's needs were met
Mm-hmm.
then versus the ease now. And when I'm talking rich people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking those.
Yeah.
Back then, yes, they had servants upon servants upon servants.
Well, their wealth was in property, livestock,
Yeah,
servants,
yeah,
slaves.
yeah.
You know, that's something that we don't even think about today, except for the property.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with that. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I guess you're right. It's just a different level,
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't even
But
think
I'm
about the
thinking,
way
I'm
this
also
iPhone-
thinking, like, expanse. Dude, are those fans blowing these mics up? I'm hearing these.
Yeah, there's some noise there.
You want me to cut those fans off?
You can.
Hang on one second. I'm gonna cut these fans off.
We'll see what difference it makes.
All right, and we're back. Sorry about that. I guess what I meant is like just expanse of influence. Right, they were still very regionally locked. They didn't
Yes.
have nearly kind of the impact that one has now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You literally could
the
go
world has become a lot smaller with
for sure,
technology.
for sure. I mean, you can be anywhere in a day.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world in a day. That was not even possible, not even remotely possible.
No.
So, and then not only that, you can have property, you can have, relationships that now expand continents that you couldn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's actually the water from here. Now that I hear
I
it.
think it's water. I think it's the air. I think it's.
I don't think that air's coming through. I think it's the water because I hear it bubble.
You can hear the bubble too.
Yeah.
But there's that kind of.
Anyway, sorry about the audio.
Well,
Ernst will fix that in post.
well, I mean, they won't hear this audio. All they hear is that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they're probably hearing it. That's true.
But yeah, when this is published, edited and published.
Ernest will fix it.
Yeah.
So again, I guess the point I was just trying to make is I think it's gotten easier to be more and more self-serving, and then this idea of what's better is how do I have more? How do I get more? How do I do more without doing as much? Right? If that makes sense. How do I experience more without doing as much? How do I work less? There's I constantly hear conversations about how they need to reduce the work week and stuff like that. So it's there's always this automation is so prevalent in our society, especially in manufacturing makes sense because there's dollars and cents heavily involved in that. So hey, how do I get this crazy amount of work out of people don't want to work 12, 16 hours a day. This robot don't give crap. So, and then every second that robot moves is a penny on. Shut up, Marty.
Marty's a robot.
Marty is a robot. He is a robot. But every second that robot moves, I'm cashing checks, so to speak. So, and again, it's always this hunger for more. And to me, that really amplifies that carnal nature to be king, right? There's a desire. I don't know how else to say it. I guess it's a desire to be king. And I want to impress. I want to have dominion. I want to influence all of these things. And that's I think it's a battle that a lot of us fight. Some of us fight very well and beat that fleshly desire down, if you will, to want to reach, some sort of status. And some of us are okay with, just being a simple man.
Mm-hmm.
Almost makes me want to grab my guitar and sing Simple Man right now. But I guess I try to drive that point that's where a lot of these fractures in relationships happen, is this idea that there has to be an alpha in there, and then the subject, and the alpha is to be revered and admired, and it bleeds into politics. It bleeds into just social structure in general, and it bleeds into the church. And so, how does one subscribe to the idea of a theology of a deity that is the almighty, all powerful, yet at every turn the leaders of each church prop themselves up in a position to take that adoration and that position of authority? And you see it everywhere. You see it in every church, every sect, every religious, outside of maybe Buddhism. I think you see that there is always a pathway to one person on a small scale, and then they fight amongst themselves to determine, out of this group of regional leaders, who's the supreme continental leader, and then out of those continental leaders, who's the I think there's always kind of this hierarchy, but there's always a fight. It's a fight for power and favor, and it stems in politics, and like I want your votes. I'm going to go buy your votes. All of that, and it's the same in the church world. How quickly a pastor can fall out of favor, and man, people will just tar and feather the guy and run him off at a moment's notice. And what do you know? There's someone right there in the wings waiting for that opportunity. And again, so all of this stuff I saw this. I was a part of it. I experienced it. And I see it even in the whiskey community. I see it. There's a fight for relevance. Someone wants to come out on top. And I think people now, especially in the whiskey tube community, sense that the end is coming. Like the carte blanche of this fight to be a profitable whatever, or make this a career, or whatever they're doing, that's starting to wane. The opportunity is closing, and there's only so many people starting to get aware of it, I guess is what I should say. Not that people aren't still doing channels. People are, they always will, and I think that's great. I love that. I think when you turn it into a business thing, that's where it becomes that competitive thing.
Yeah.
And again, because it's not about, at that point, it's not about being friends. It's about having fans, right? And I can tie all this stuff together, man. It's weird. As I'm talking it through, that's exactly how all this stuff has started to come to. All right. So anyway, before you go into, because I know you got something to say, I want to this bottle tonight. This is going to be twins, and this is barrel one. We did 2 barrels on this pick, and then we call them barrel 1, barrel 3. They were actually a few barrels apart in the distillation run, so it's the same distillate. MGP, 21% rye, both of them. They aged less than 10 feet apart from each other, and barrel 1 and barrel 3 they're night and day different. So I call them twins. This was a while when we were tasting. It's like, oh, this one's really good, and we would taste the other one's also very good. But I call them twins, named after like the Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, because genetically they were the same.
Right.
But man, they could have been further apart.
Yeah. Couldn't be any more different.
Yeah. So this one, Barrel One, this is one that Chris Luddick really liked a lot, and I like them both. Both of them very, very much. I think I preferred 3 overall because I felt like 3 was a little easier to drink. It was less complex in the palate, but a much better finish. Drink much older. This is 6.5 year bourbon. But you don't mind, I like to pour you a little. All right. So this one, I've had people come back and actually tell me that they think this is rye and that 3 is bourbon. I'm like, no, you're wrong. They're literally both the exact same mash bill, distilled the exact same day,
Yeah.
barreled the exact same day, and done. So cheers.
Cheers.
Boy, Will, you're not irrelevant, buddy.
That's a rye.
Yeah, 100%, right? 100%. You're not wrong that it has rye in it.
Yeah. But yeah, I could see why someone would say,
Yeah,
that's a rye.
has a little floral. I need to go grab a bottle 3 on where it's at. I think I got it somewhere around here. I'll grab it. We'll crack it and do. So anyway, so I knew you kind of had something to say. I wanted to kind of hear what you had to say about that whole.
Well, I already forgot now.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
No, I think it comes down to, whether you're interested in serving others or serving self.
Dude, today it's so hard not to, isn't it? I mean, look, I think, honestly, I think that the problem that the guys that I started this with really had with me, and I don't know that they'll admit it. I don't know they've ever thought it, but it's the only thing I can think of is that I don't know that they believed I was who I am from a community kind of guy. Like I give shit away all the time because to me the value in any of the stuff that I have is the enjoyment that others get, and I get from it too, but the enjoyment that others get. And to me, that's what kind of the whole story time thing was all about. I wanted people to experience the perspective I had on this community, this eye-opening enlightenment I had that I hadn't seen until I was since I was a young man in church, and I didn't see the behind-the-scenes part of church. Right, I just saw the get-togethers. I just saw the youth group. I saw, going to concerts and the potlucks, and I saw that. I saw a community that doted on one another, that loved one another. That at least it seemed to, and I think they mostly did. Then you start getting up in the ranks of leadership. And then you find out people are in it for themselves.
Yeah, well, to me, that's really not a leader. I think people confuse what leadership really is.
Oh yeah, that's been lost.
Yeah.
And I see it in my job right now. I've got some real issues at my job. I've got some guys that are really smart, extremely smart guys. They're in very important positions with the organization that I work for. They're horrible leaders. and it's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's their leader that put them in that place, who's also a horrible leader. Great visionaries, great visionaries,
right?
But doesn't know how to lead. And the results is you've got a cancerous tissue that's going to eventually eat itself.
I tell you what, throughout my adult life, I could count the number of good leaders that I've had in my life on one hand.
Yeah.
Because there's not very many.
Yeah. No, totally. I agree with that. And I'll be
There's
honest.
A lot of bosses,
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a lot of boss. Everyone wants to be a boss.
not a whole lot of leaders.
I could say I could try less than 3 maybe for me
Mhm.
that I've seen that have been like, that guy's a good leader.
Yeah.
That sucks. And then I kind of came to the realization, man, does that mean that I'm supposed to be? Because I know what that sacrifice means, right? And that's kind of what story time was, because I saw this thing and I needed to bring it to life.
Mm.
I needed to experience it, but I try to pull people in hopes that some of them would serve that role, because I didn't exactly trust myself, I guess, as a leader. And I probably still don't.
Yeah.
There's no probably. I don't. I'm going to make a wrong decision.
That's the thing about good leaders is they don't necessarily think of themselves as good leaders.
Well,
I mean, it's not because a good leader, mostly in their nature, is they're looking after their people more than anything.
yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with that. But I guess not at all, actually. The idea of, in my head, okay, starting an organization like this, like Storytime, and not having good examples of what leadership was in the church community, but still this idea of what leadership looks like, and really looking for that strong personality that has significant moral convictions, and is a very virtuous individual.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen. It just didn't happen, and I kind of expected that.
Yeah.
I expected it to happen, and it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it befalls on me, and I got to go, oh man, I know that that's not my strength. Doesn't mean I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not my strength, and I've got my failures. I've got a lot of them, a lot of mistakes, a lot of them, a lot of bad decisions, a lot of them. Right. So how do I?
I'll drink to that.
How do I? And again, Will brought up a good point. He says you don't need to be in a position of power to be a leader. That's absolutely true. And it's, to me, it's not even a position of power. For me, it was how do I lead this community in a way, and not necessarily the Whiskey Tube community, but the Storytime community. This community that I decided that I felt like I was burdened to start to reach out and try and pull people into and say, hey, like-minded people, we want to care for one another. We want to share this experience. We want to grow this community through experience and through sharing. How do I do that in a way that is impactful, but yet I not be this leader? But I had to be. Someone has to kind of wrangle it and say, okay, here's the thing.
Well, I mean, you don't even need to have, like partners or necessarily anyone within your, reporting directly to you in the business sense to be a leader.
For sure. But in your mind, you think that when you're thinking of business, right? It's important that there has to be a buck stops with this guy kind of thing, because ultimately someone has to be responsible. It can't be unavoidable responsibility. It has to.
Well, I mean, even once you become like self-employed, you got to lead yourself.
Oh yeah, and
sometimes you have to have some difficult conversations with yourself. Like, get your ass out of bed.
I've had those conversations with myself, and I did do that for many years. But yeah, so I never really saw that in the church. And again, I can tie right back to the scriptures and say, okay, where are you? Like, where are you? Where is this being that we have this text that references? where are you? I just don't see you. I don't see the Christ of the Bible. What I see is a man's interpretation of Christ in the Bible. And that's the hard part for me. That's where I really struggle to buy into this idea of a Christianity or even a religion. That's what I should say.
Well, I talked about this before. The church has been detrimental to people striving to be Christ-like.
Yeah, got that right.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
What do you mean you will give up yourself to others?
Yeah. Yeah. So then how do you, well, again, then I look at my heart for this community, for these people that I truly call friends. In my heart, it wants to connect with these people, and it wants to have compassion, and it wants to uplift and support and encourage.
So that's the thing is, they have to want it too.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is tough.
That's tough because when they don't, it hurts. It hurts bad.
Yeah,
it hurts bad.
I mean, that's the thing when you give up yourself, when you, well, for one thing, I think, in the true spirit, if excuse me, if you want to give yourself, then you do not need to expect anything in return.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Expecting nothing in return is fine.
Yeah.
Receiving backlash
But
is a different animal.
yeah. Well, I mean, because so many people think, okay, well, if I do this for you, what do you want to do for me?
Right.
What do I get out of this?
Yeah.
That kind of mentality. So.
Yeah. So I genuinely want that for this community. I want that compassion for one another to encourage. I think the flash and flare and this idea of fame or favor, popularity needs to die. It needs to die because in order for someone to be popular, that means someone has to be not popular. You know what I mean? There's it's almost like a yin and yang scenario. And what I mean by that is someone is going to put them under their foot to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree. I mean, if you see it, if you see everyone, say like in the Whiskey Tube community as a competitor, then yes.
Yeah. Well, that's
true,
what. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's what's happening.
I think you really have to just stay the course. I mean, if you want to make a business out of YouTube, I mean, there's what was the numbers that came out last year of the 2 billion people using YouTube?
Oh yeah.
There is an absolutely ginormous audience, that you haven't found yet.
Yeah.
And if you want to make a business out of it, I mean, you got to hustle.
Yeah.
You got to be on it all the time. It's got to almost consume you.
Yeah. And it does. You look at the people that are doing it.
Yeah.
Bruzel's a perfect example. That guy busts his ass.
Mm-hmm.
And the results are he's got crazy numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, it can't be something that, you're one foot in, one foot out.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's really,
But
it's just a hobby.
Here's the differentiation. So that's the business side of it. And that's not, for me, Storytime was never that. Storytime truly is a community focused, a community focused distillery that benefits the community it serves. Right? So in that, there was a nonprofit created in that, there's a barrel club called the Authors Guild that serves those people. It's kind of a select few that want to be members, and they support it in return. I try and find them stuff like this, right? So that's what the Authors Guild is about, and then ultimately it becomes a commercial business that the whiskey sits on the shelves and hopefully it doesn't sit there long.
Mm-hmm.
And then revenue generated from that goes back into the community, goes back into all the other things that we touch.
Well, I mean, really, that's a business. Because I grew up with my parents owning the business, and for the longest time, you would never know that they owned a chain of grocery stores because most of what they made went right back into maintaining those grocery stores and supporting the people that they employed.
Right.
So they took very little for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the approach I take too. I mean, honestly, I'm not really taking anything out of story time because there really isn't nothing to take. I mean, the Authors Guild serves itself. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I've invested into it, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you have to love it. I mean, that's for example, our friend Brent, who owns the Vault Bottle Shop.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about it the first year. He's like, I took out $4,000 the first year. That's all it took from the business.
Yeah. Jeez.
Should say he paid himself $4,000.
Yeah,
over a
exactly,
year.
exactly. So Marty asked the question, and I know what he's asking the question for. I'm going to address it here in a minute, Marty. So I mentioned Bruzel and how hard he works, and I got to tell you, the guy worked really hard to get it started. He may not be working as hard now, but that's only because he's probably got a team around him. I'm sure that guy has got a pretty good team now. He's making a metric shit ton of money off of what he's doing. That doesn't happen easily. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of
There
vision.
are no overnight successes.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And a lot of people, Marty, one of them, right? And Marty was one that really pointed out because he just kind of showed up out of nowhere. This Bruzel, like all of a sudden, boom, he's like running numbers. We're like, okay, is he buying subs? Is he doing all these things? And at the end of the day, whatever he did it well.
Mm.
And he's got a pretty decent community for what I can tell. People, I don't know what his engagement is. I don't watch the guy. But it's much different than what I wanted to do because for me, again, it's about this. It's about having people like Ernest in my life, and Will and Marty and Greg McDonald, and I mean, you name it, Mike Stahl, gosh, the list goes on and on. Roger Randall.
You sure about Greg?
Yeah, I love Greg, man. That guy is the best. He really is.
I'm his best.
I
love Greg.
I give him so much shit, and
I think we all do.
he puts up with it.
He's like easy, like an easy target.
Yeah, I know, Marty. I know. He had again his motivations were to be a successful channel, and that's okay. I'm not going to besmirch a guy for that.
Yeah.
You're going to step on people on the way. It's going to happen.
Like I said, there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
Being a successful YouTube channel. I mean,
He just
that
missed
becomes your business.
He just missed out on some good relationships on the way, and maybe he doesn't care, and that's totally okay too.
Yeah. Well,
There's a lot of those people.
Well, I mean, even in another example, I talk about my parents because they were in business as long as I can remember. But if they lived in the same town that they had a store, they could not attend church there.
Yeah.
Because they would absolutely be hounded.
Yeah, for sure.
For donations and
Yeah,
give this and give that.
For sure.
So
I get it. I know exactly where Marty's coming from on it too. I because in the early days of all of this Whiskey Cube stuff, we were all a pretty tight knit group. We all knew each other, at least through chat. We all knew each other, and we had insight into one another's lives. We all had each other's phone numbers. We were trying to build relationships, and then we actually came together for the first Slammering here, and there was a lot of great relationships that blossomed out of this event. I hope that happens again this year because of this year's event. I'm excited. It's coming up in a few weeks. Do it all again. We got some new people coming. We've got Adam Major Zero coming from Tennessee. We've got Dot coming from Texas. It looks like Jackson's going to be here from Colorado. So people that have never been here before. And I'm excited for that because I'll tell you that even in the midst of all the shit that I've gone through with people and people just wanting to defame things and make it negative, I still got a lot of great relationships that still to this day, I still communicate with these people. Probably the best one outside. I mean, Greg McDonald is probably the best. He's been with me the longest as far as he's locally, whatever.
Yep.
So he's my brother for sure. And number two is honestly probably Mike Stahl in that he and I talk all the time. I support him. He supports me. And then I got Marty. Marty's, I've always tried to support Marty. I think, Marty's tried to support me, but he's got stuff going on and I got stuff going on. We don't ever seem to kind of gel as much as I'd like us to as far as getting together. But when we do, we have a great time. And he's a brother. He's an absolute brother. I would die for that guy, 100%. You're one that came out of all this, right? That like, hey, you're just down the road. This was actually a year ago.
Yep. You
came down and these are really relationships that matter. I'm excited. I think Marty's coming to this one too, and I'm excited to see him again. I haven't seen him in a long time. That to me is what mattered, and I think now as kind of this divergence happens where the people that want to be entertainers and the people that want a community, it's starting to split because people want real relationships. Some people want the business side.
Yeah.
So to me, it's that's what it's about. Yeah, and Fred and Doug. I got to speak about Fred and Doug, and all of those guys down in New Orleans. When I met those guys, like, holy moly, that impacted me in a way probably like I've never been impacted me. That to me is, you want to see what church was meant to be? That's what it was. Showing up at their house, I'd never met them before. They welcomed me in. They loved me as one of their own. And as much as I love Marty, I would set him on fire for Fred and Doug. No offense, Marty.
Yeah, I mean, Fred and Doug, they know no strangers.
Right.
It's like everybody that they come in contact is a friend.
Yep.
And that's the way they treat them.
Yep.
And we could all learn a lesson from that.
Yeah.
I think Fred and Doug treat everyone that they come in contact with the way that they want to be treated.
100%.
Golden rule.
And they're just good people. And I've been so lucky
at IT.
Yeah, apparently they're IT experts. And I can't say enough good about them. And I've had multiple occasions of those types of instances. The other people that come to mind it was an instant connection, instant brotherhood, is John and Renee Peets, Top Dog. You see, it was Top Dog. I happened to be passing through Chicago. I met with them. We talked, and it was obvious that my vision of what this was about, they really aligned well with it. They understood it. They supported it, and they supported me. And I hope that I can only do the same for them. Whatever opportunities I have to do that, because those two are just, again, another ones that have invited me into their house, and it's just I can't. To me, that's what Christ was about. Was it? He was about this community connectivity.
Right, yeah.
He's not about all this other bullshit.
Absolutely.
But then I got to sit there and question: then is it real? Is what is in that Bible real, or is it just a reference to virtues? And that's the struggle. How do I sit there and accept this text that was commissioned by man to be the Almighty when what I see in action is something different than what the people that claim that that's their guidance is? And I see better people that don't subscribe to a religious doctrine
Yes,
than I do in a church.
I absolutely
So
agree.
all of that
I absolutely agree.
has to be a challenge to you. Like, how do do I sit there and wrap my arms around this thing and say, yes, this Christian thing is what it's all cracked up to be, when I see this example of the beauty of the message of what's in the Bible? I see it personified in a community that would otherwise have been thrown to the wolves because they're considered Gentiles or they're considered heathens. Alcohol is the devil, man.
It still is.
It's the great equalizer.
No, I think when it comes down to it, we also have a mentality of comparing ourselves to others. All those people that you talk about, those church leaders and everyone else, I believe that they're going to have to answer for themselves.
100%.
You know, so whatever they do, that's between them and God, and whatever I do is between me and God.
I don't disagree.
And I kind of have to live my life
But what
in a
one are you
way that
subscribing to? Are you subscribing to the one that's in a text? Or do you subscribe into something you see as a behavior, as a manifestation of community or in community, I guess I should say.
well, I mean, all we have to go on is that text.
Do we?
Well, I mean, we should see it being lived out,
Right.
but if it contradicts, That
Oh
text.
man, no, come on. Even the text can contradict itself at times when you go through
no, I don't
the
think
mouths of men. Oh yes.
so. I don't think so.
Oh dude, I see it all the time. People have and will probably forever wield that text like a sword
Oh yeah,
to
absolutely.
serve their purposes
Absolutely,
and the message they want to convey.
absolutely.
So,
So I got a good friend of mine. His name is John Freeze,
Yep.
and he does consulting for large corporations and government agencies. And what's the name of these companies? Anyway, he has a program. It's called One Team.
mhm,
You know, so he sits down with leaders within these corporations and government agencies, and he starts to counsel them and bring them along. And his ideas line up with what Jesus is like 100%. But yet, those leaders will turn that thing around and use it
slash people to pieces.
absolutely.
Yep.
I saw it over and over again.
Yep.
I'm like,
It's
y'all
disgusting.
have absolutely destroyed what could have
Right.
been great for this organization.
So then I go back. Is it the text that's of value, or is it the lessons that come out of it?
No, it's lessons.
All right. So then, is the manifest this idea that Christ, again, this is the struggle, that Christ came to earth in human form, was crucified for some reason, because somehow that paid for my sins. Not quite sure how that happened, but that's the tale,
Mhm.
as we'll put it. And I'm supposed to accept that for what it is, and I'm not. I don't know. I grew up in it. You asked me this 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Oh my gosh, you were not going to convince me that Christ wasn't real. You know that all of that text was not. to the letter, like
Mhm.
was it. Um, but then it dawned on me, like again, it was the behaviors, it was the manifestations in my brothers and sisters that I started seeing, and I go, wait a minute. So is it the text that's important, or is it the heart? To me, it became the heart. Because I'll be honest with you, if it's if it's if it is as we imagine it, if there's a God that rules in heaven, and when we die, we go up to worship Him, as the text clearly states.
Mhm.
I have no recollection of my family. I have no recollection of any of those things. Cheers, Scott, by the way. Glad to see you on here, buddy. Um,
So I know you. I think you said that in the first episode that you'll have no recollection of your
Yeah.
family. I I feel that not only will we know our family, we're going to know everyone.
that might be, but the text is very clear that we will be so consumed with God's
Well,
presence.
I mean, the only scripture I could think about was when the Pharisees were trying to trip up Jesus, which they were often trying to do,
Yeah,
talking about a man has a wife and you know
yeah,
she dies and he has another wife. Who will he be married to in heaven? And he's like, he pretty much says there'll be no marriage in heaven,
right.
but it doesn't say that you won't have any recollection.
Well, it speaks of the well, it speaks of adoration, really complete subjugation. It's what it really boils down to. Because and it's not because we're compelled by force. We're compelled by holiness, apparently, right? Like it's so overwhelming to be in the presence of God that we are just so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think about that and I go, wait a minute, why would I want that? Not saying that, but why would I want that? Is it just because the alternative is to burn in hell?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and in that, there's this concept of continuous torment and anguish, and we can only relate that in human terms as we understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's even relatable if that were to be true.
I don't think we can humanly conceive
Yeah,
heaven or hell.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we fabricated this thing.
Absolutely.
I think we've come up with a story to try and explain the unexplainable, and we continue to do that. We continue to do that, and not even just in religion. That expands into science. It expands into engineering. It expands into everything. We come to these points where we can't explain it anymore, and so we create this hypothesis to explain it, so I don't have to think about it. So I don't have to sit there and lie awake at night going, okay, what's beyond the stars? Like, and next thing you know, you're just locked up. You can't. Yeah. You're paralyzed by the thought process of
well, that's where the
what
faith.
if, what if,
that's
what
where
if.
the faith comes in.
Well, right. So now I have to have faith in something I can't see, touch, hear, smell.
That is faith.
I know that's what it is. I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. I want to distill it
Yep.
down so that it makes sense, because I want to have faith in something that is real. And right now, my faith is in community.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my faith is in. My faith is in humankind, even though there's a lot of bastards out there. And I'm one of them, by the way. My faith is still in the fact that we want to do the right things for the right reasons. You have to. You have to. So anyway, how does this relate to whiskey? How does this relate to storytelling? That's exactly the community I want to build. I want this to be about this interconnectivity. I want it to be something that replicates itself. It is not about me. 100% not about me at all.
Well, I think the best communities are the ones that can have the tough conversation and still be community.
Yeah, we can have a debate.
Yeah, we don't have to agree.
You can be wrong and I can be right, and it's okay.
Yeah. So I think that's another issue we run into society today is someone could say, well, I don't agree with that. They're like, well, I want you to agree with that. Well, I don't. Well, then you're a
Yeah.
bigot,
Well, yeah.
racist, whatever.
Well,
you know,
it's always, then there's something wrong with you.
or that too.
Yeah, right. Like there's always, it's not just, well, if you can't see this, then you must be stupid because I see this thing. By God, I'm not going to hang out with stupid people. Lo and behold, I'm the stupidest in the bunch.
Yeah, usually, normally though, it's not a stupid thing. It's normally you start getting called bigot,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. So.
Well, hey, your glass is empty. We've been going for a minute. I want to keep this thing going. But I want to get into another glass, and then I kind of want to move the conversation on because I think I'm at a point now where the next episode, I want to bring in someone else. I think I'm ready to have another perspective brought in, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back through these. We are going to. Ernest has been editing. He's got 2 of them done. I've got to do some graphic stuff and some music stuff, and then those are going to get posted. And then this crappy version that's on the live stream. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I don't know.
It's kind of like a BTS.
Yeah.
BTS version of this podcast.
I'm not on YouTube. Hang on 1 second there, Scott. I apologize, buddy. All right, here we go. Edit moderator. All right, there you go. Sorry about that. So yeah, so Scott.
Something started eating on my neck.
Oh yeah, Scott Pigsley, who's been dealing with some health issues as well, is running into some things, and that's kind of what this community. One thing I love about it. One thing I also think we got to be very careful of because I think some people can abuse it, and I don't think that's Scott in this case. There are some real issues out there that people have a hard time getting through, and if we can help one another, I encourage it 100%.
And we should.
Yeah, we should for sure. So it's tough. I think we've got to be supportive of one another, and I think sometimes supportive means you got to tell people, "Hey, man, stop fleecing the flock, bro." So anyway, all right. So here's the next pour. So this is a local Knob Creek pick that just came in. You had this the other night with me, I do believe. This thing is so good. So I want to get back into it.
Yeah, I gotta get mine.
Yeah, dude, you don't want to miss out on that.
Best in Lake Wiley.
Whiskey Shaman, what's up, brother? So yeah, here's the other thing I would say about a lot of that stuff too, because it is an issue that's come up. We've seen a lot of people starting to, they've seen kind of the generosity of the community, and they've really, taken advantage of people. I think I've seen it a couple times. At least it appears that way.
Mm-hmm. Hey, that happens in the church too.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally gets me like, dude, it's the same. It's all the same. So I would say this: before donating to someone, understand who they are, understand what they're going through, and if you feel compelled, do it. Help them out.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like they're full of shit, don't help them out. Sometimes we got to tell people, hey, man, this is just your time to kind of knuckle under and bear it. We're here to support you emotionally, conversationally.
Yeah.
Not always can we do it financially, but some people, man, are in a really bad way.
Yeah.
And if we can help them, I think it's always a good idea to do it. I think that stuff comes back tenfold when you need it the most. So hopefully. So anyway, yeah. So where do we go from here, right? So I want to bring in some more opinions. So if there's anybody watching now or anybody watching on the recap the edited version, which is going to look way better because I'm probably going to have a black bar over my face. Hopefully,
It'll be blurred.
it'll be like I'm a
And your voice will be.
yeah, that'd be great. Uh, I'd like to have somebody else chime in on this. I want this community to have a voice and an opportunity to share these ideas and these conversations and relate them and understand to me, understand at least what to me is the beauty of this community and the true baseline that whiskey sets.
Mm.
You know, it didn't have to be whiskey; it just happened to be whiskey, and I'm thankful for that. Not because it's whiskey, but I'm thankful that there was something that could unite us in a way that would spur conversations and generate relationships and brotherhood. Because that's what we need. We need in today's shit that's going on, you know, election cycles and holy shit, man, is the curtain getting pulled back and the Wizard of Oz is getting exposed. And a lot of shit that we thought was conspiracies and we laughed and we joked about, we're starting to find out, man, maybe it's not that far fetched. Yeah, there's always some truth in some of this stuff. And there's too many facts that are coming out and there's too many instances of convenience that make you go, man, I didn't want to think it was that way, but boy, am I really seeing some weird stuff. It doesn't quite jive. And at the end of the day, you realize, oh, you've got your community. And I think that's what you're seeing a lot with the whiskey tube specifically. You know, you're seeing a lot of smaller channels popping up now. You're seeing a lot more of them. I love that. And because to me, that means that there's going to be local groups supporting a local guy in most cases. Not always, you're always going to have reach external. But hopefully what that does is it creates an opportunity for there to be meetups, because to me that's where the real value in all of this is being able to meet your brother face to face and give him a hug and let him know you care about him. We're doing the meetup, the Schlammering, and Memorial Day. I really want to do one for the West Coast. Hopefully we can get that pulled off, and if nothing else, I'd be a part of it. But if I can host it too and kind of help with what I've seen, I like to keep them relatively small, less than 20 people if possible. So if you get more than that, you kind of get lost. It turns into more of a concert, which is fine. But again, I'm not here for fans. I'm here for friends. And if I can't spend the time to talk to each of you, then what am I here for?
Right.
So then I'm just nothing more than your bartender. I don't want that. All right. So what's your thoughts on that now, Pete? By the way, Mark, I did see that you. Oh shit! My computer's goofy. Yeah, he just picked up a Knob Creek 12. Yeah, those are really good. I would say this one is really close to the Knob Creek 12 cast strength. Like Greg and I
would agree.
Well, Greg and I did these side by side. I actually got it in the house, and there wasn't a whole lot of separation. Really close.
Yeah, I would agree. It's
I love it, Mark.
I mean, it definitely drinks a whole lot lighter than the proof.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's got that sweetness to it, that caramel, the toffee, even.
Yeah, all those bourbon notes.
Yeah, a little bit of nuttiness.
Mm. Yeah. So I would also like to pose this question while I'm thinking about it. What do we think about doing the live at the same time we're actually doing the content that's going to come out later, hopefully edited better? And we're going to start using AI, and I'm going to put like George Clooney's face on mine or something, maybe, or you could be Pamela Anderson in Baywatch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I have the breast for it.
Yeah. Oh shit! I'll be Hasselhoff. How about that? We'll do that. But anyway, do you think we need to continue this? I guess I'm asking even you guys in chat. You know, is this something you enjoy at a live level? And I know you haven't seen any recorded stuff yet because we haven't released any of it, although it's coming. Or is this something that should just be edited and
we can do lives as a
maybe do it as
special whatever.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to throw it out there. If anybody would like to chime in and be a part of this conversation, I'd love to have you. I think this is a great way to expand our thought on this community and how we continue to enrich it. Yeah. Yeah, Mark, I don't disagree. That's kind of what my conclusion was, right? Like, I think almost all religions end up in the same spot, almost all. And then it seems like they all take a really nasty turn where they want to eliminate the infidels, right? When it comes to this, you know, it's good intentions. I mean, again, I can mirror it in the whiskey community. Good intentions. It's great starting. Everyone's lovey-dovey. We're all about it. And then personal aspirations start rising. We start modifying text and thoughts so that it aligns us in an oppositional way. And we say they must be.
We twist it for our selfishness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, the crazy thing, like even all the shit that I've dealt with, I don't really want to say their names, and I'm not going to, but there's three main protagonists that have been problematic for me personally in the whiskey.
Antagonist.
Yeah, antagonist. I probably been the protagonist. Anyway, you're right. I'd still love the conversation. I'd still love to talk to them and find out.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I did something wrong, I want to know it. And I want to apologize for it.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I actually had that in, let's see, not the last church I was in, but the one before where I kind of just got ostracized. You know, and I actually brought, you know, individually some of the leaders from that church. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
What did I do? Never could get a straight answer.
Yeah.
I still don't know to this day.
Yeah, why is that, dude? Like,
So I'm just like, okay.
It's like some people just want to be angry. They want you to be their adversary.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the perfect example is Ben Talib. Like, and I'm sorry to call you out, Ben, but that's just a fact. You've gone on a personal crusade against me, and I have no idea why. And you can't tell me why, because the only thing you've said was I lied about something. And then when I asked you what I lied about, I got no response.
Mm.
And you just held it against me. And I've done nothing but give to this community and to Ben. And I hate to call that guy out directly because it sounds malicious. It's not. I would love to have that discussion. I'd love for him to sit there and say, hey, you did this. And then that way I can go, you know what, man, I am fucking sorry. I did not mean to do that.
Yep.
I did not mean to put, because I promise you I didn't mean to piss anybody off ever.
Right.
But if I did, what did I do? How do I fix it?
You know, a lot of times it's just misunderstandings, and we can't have the real conversations to actually resolve an issue. We just rather be pissed off.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
It makes zero sense. And yeah, I would love to have that conversation. I absolutely love it because I genuinely want to improve myself. You okay? Freaking out over there.
Oh. Well, you know, I'm an engineer, producer.
Oh yeah. I just see you looking at the board. You're like,
Well, yeah, I did do a double take.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I was like, oh.
But we're all good.
Yep. Mm. I agree, Mr. Whiskey Shaman. That's what the scripture says. All right, so I'm getting into this Knob Creek. So anyway, this Knob Creek pig, fantastic. Local whiskey guy, or a liquor store guy that I've become really good friends with. I've actually went and did the Stranahan's pick for him. And of course, we're going to make that available to Storytime members as well. Authors Guild members, I should say. Phenomenal bottle. And then actually I ended up doing 2 Stranahan's picks.
It's better than last year's pick.
Yeah.
The Legend, which was outstanding.
Yeah.
This is even better.
It did. It went up a level. And I'm just like, wow. How did you do this? Well, I know how he did it. He got in really good with the Jim Beam guys, and they hooked him up. Yeah, but it's amazing.
The other pick too.
Mm-hmm. Russell's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that Russell's big. Now I picked that. Well, me, Greg, Roger Kurtz, and of course Matt, the liquor store owner.
So all the degenerates.
Yeah, and that's why it's called the degenerate drink. And it is really good.
It is outstanding.
Oh man,
it may be one of the best Russells I've ever had.
Yeah, it's up there. I'm not sure if it beats Lake Angelshire, but it's got to be close.
And I haven't had that.
I have it, so I'll have to share that with you. That was the one that Bobby got.
Mine's good, side by side.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, you're not wrong. Random, you're not wrong. Man, how do? Good Lord, that wasn't good.
Oh, you already got the glasses.
Yeah, man, I already got the glasses for the event that's coming up.
Nice.
The Cheers Invitational 2024. These will be the commemorative glasses. You get 2 of these when you come to the event. Got Brown Foreman's going to be here. Got some special pours coming from Backbone Bourbon, and trying to get something worked out with Highwire, who does the Jimmy Red Club. They want us to come to the pick there too, so that's pretty exciting. Yeah. Oh yeah, great glasses. Top Dog brings up a good point. Top Dog did an amazing job on the laser etching.
Oh, they do that.
If you can see it, I don't know if you probably can't because the camera's far away, but
maybe I'll zoom in on them.
Yeah, he did such a good job. Cheers Invitational. You know, that's a guy that I wish would come to this freaking event, but I don't think Renee lets him out of the house too often. She likes to keep him on a short leash. He's like one of those, his top dog. So it's like a dog that just you let him out and he's going to go out and try and pee on everything, claim it all for his own. So I think Renee keeps him on a short leash.
Can't mark any more territory.
Yeah. I guess. Probably good thinking. Probably got tired of the complaints from the community. Middle of the night, he's out there peeing on people's mailboxes. Like, come on, man. Wow, he did a great job and did it quickly. I love the guy, man.
These Old West glasses that you.
Yeah, the old saloony glasses.
Yeah,
I love these, man. I really fallen in love with these glasses.
These are awesome.
I love Glencairns too, but these are fantastic. So, I guess I kind of wrap up this episode. Oh, I love that.
The birds.
Yeah, the birds.
The birds are singing.
Yeah. Well, the cicadas have been nuts. Did you hear them much here? I don't remember if I've heard them at work, but I haven't really heard them here.
I haven't heard them here either.
Oh my gosh, dude, at work, it is insane.
So, from what I understand, there's 2 different species.
Well, two broods they call them.
Broods, okay.
There's a 17-year brood, and a 13-year brood. And the last time both broods came out at the same time was like Lincoln was president or some shit. It was like really long time ago.
So that's why everybody's like,
there's literally like a trillion cicadas.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, the birds lose their minds when this happens because they just go into gorge fest. And they think that the Mother's Nature instinct why there's a trillion of them is because they know that birds are going to eat a bunch of them, so they try to overpower their appetites with sheer numbers. That's literally like a scientific explanation I read today. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But literally,
sounds logical.
Yeah. Chill Wheel, I got you, brother. I got you. Yeah, I'll put them on the store. I'll put them in like sets of 2 because I don't want anyone to ever drink alone. If you can help it, if you can help it. Sometimes you can't help it, and if that's the case, give me a call. I'll jump on a private with you. You will never have to drink alone. Yeah, these crates. So every 17, every 13 years. So here's a thought I had. Think about this. I hate to get on the sidetrack, but this is a good one.
This is our tangent.
This is a tangent. I was thinking about this like the other day. If those things only emerge every 13 years, 17 years, and they're insects this big, what potentially is underground waiting to emerge only every 1,000 years? Right? And we don't know.
Yeah, well, and we won't know.
Maybe we will.
I'm not planning on being here.
Well, I mean, maybe it's due. It could happen tomorrow.
Maybe we're at the 1,000-year mark.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know. Maybe Loch Ness is one of those, right? You know, Bigfoot. Maybe Bigfoot's one of those things.
Well, he's over there.
Well, they say that, but I'm just saying. Like,
I mean, I've seen him. Haven't you?
I felt like him sometimes. I've never seen it. But I mean, think about that, dude. I did not watch the movie Tremors, Eric. That is not true. But it really dawned on me. Like, I said, wait, if these things are only coming out every 13 or 17, what could potentially be down there that we don't know? Maybe it only comes out every 100 years. Maybe that's what wiped out the Egyptians. You know? Something emerged. Dude, man. Maybe it was this big dune sandworms and then they go back and die off. I don't know, man. I don't know. Something to think about. I'm sure Eric's been hearing the cicadas. Because I tell you what, over Rock Hill, I go outside at work, and it sounds like it's a fabricated sound, like on a bullhorn. Yeah. It's wild. Freaking wild. Anyway, well, what do you think, man? Where do we leave this? I want your guys' feedback. I want to hear what you have to say. I want you to correct me when I'm wrong, where I'm wrong. If you haven't seen the other 2 episodes, they'll be out soon. One of them is on the live stream, so you can kind of hear that.
Definitely have not seen them yet.
Yeah, I think. Well, we did live the last time.
Oh yeah, that's right, we did.
But the audio, I think, was shite.
Yes.
But I'd love to get you guys' thoughts. I want to get into some more topics. You know, we talked a little bit about transgender stuff. We talked a little about homosexual stuff, and you know how all that stuff plays in, and kind of the breakdown in society and what's happening. You know, I think one of the most pivotal moments in our society, in American society, was World War II, when women started going to work, and it became, not that women working is a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is the idea of a nuclear family got destroyed, and it became a 2-income family race. That's where it started. It took 15, 20 years before it really picked up, but that's kind of where it started. And
that and FDR policies.
well, yeah, all of that contributed. Just that whole era kind of contributed to it.
Yep.
And it's when it really became, the term latchkey kids and all of that stuff started coming out, and it's this idea that a family consists of two parents that work and a kid that goes to school and then goes somewhere else and has some sort of daycare and raise their kid. And I feel like a lot of the sense of family values. Here's the thought too, and sorry, my brain just went on another angle with this thing, but I was thinking about this too. Is I remember growing up, family reunions were a big deal.
Yeah, I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
First night.
Yeah, I think we did too. But they don't exist anymore, man.
No, we have Facebook.
Yeah. We have totally.
We don't have to get together anymore.
And that's bullshit. It's straight bullshit.
Do we want to?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right.
I do. I do want to laugh at my cousins, make fun of them. I do want to pick on them.
I have actually been. I have been to a family reunion in the past 5 years.
I think
they're
they're popping up now and again. I think they're more prevalent here in the South. I think the South is still holding on to a lot of those.
People still have a high school reunion?
No, I haven't been to one. Not one.
I haven't either. I didn't know.
And I think we had one at 20. I don't think we've had one since. And I think the turnout was so bad that they just didn't do it anymore. No one wants to go back and revisit that stuff.
See everybody on Facebook.
That's right, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. So I did a report for college, or paper, I should say, and it was on really crime rates and prison rates. Largely, the black community makes up the predominant number of people that are incarcerated. And you can really go back to when divorce rates started skyrocketing, when these children from broken homes and all that is so prevalent. And I think we know it. I don't even think I need to pull up the facts. I think people know it. You can see it. You can tell.
Yep.
And man, it has done a number on us as a society. We've kind of lost our way. I think if people will brought up, he said, I must use the word irrelevant. It's really not irrelevant. You're very relevant, but maybe you're not a star, right? You're not a main figurehead. You're not a person of fame. And I think it's kind of the lie we're telling our kids is everyone's special, everyone's this and that, and they all deserve to be on the stage or on the TikTok or on whatever, and everyone should be adoring and adulating them.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't tell my kids they were special, but I told them that they could do whatever they wanted to do as long as they set their mind to it and worked hard. I don't subscribe to natural born talent.
Yeah.
I mean,
people have it,
they're
but they still have to work.
Yeah, but yeah, they still got to work. I mean, some of the greatest guitarists you know. I mean, they work to get where they're at.
100%. I mean, I've got all kinds of talent.
Professional athlete.
And I suck because I don't
hard.
work at it. But yeah, you're 100% right. And it's we just kind of lost our way. And I think, there's a lot of admiration for the cowboy community, right? Because the thought is, for instance, there's a reason why the show Yellowstone was such a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the idea that man was a hard-working man, and he was simple. Right? He got up at the crack of dawn, and he worked to make sure his family had everything he needed. And he had dinner at night, and he went to bed, and he got up and he did it again. Mm. But his number one was to take care. And the man is a sensation. Like that show is a massive sensation. Mm. And it's largely because there's this idea, this country music, and this idea of Yeah, going down a dirt road, and all these songs that have been big hits because it speaks of simpler times.
Exactly. I was going to say it harkens back to
Yeah,
when things were much more simple than they are now.
but we've gone too far now. We can't do it. We can't go back.
No, we can't.
No, we can't, because the machine stops. Machine's got to keep moving forward.
I can move to Montana and
You can, but we as a society can't. We've gone too far.
oh yeah,
You know, it stops.
yes.
What would be great is if in all of this desire to be automated and technologically driven, we get back to this idea where technology carries out the hard part and we go back to being simple people. That'd be awesome. I'd love it. I'd love it. But I fell victim to it too. We all have. So anyway. All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody. I know a couple people who you probably already signed off, and we're going to sign off too. Ernest, can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Shane.
You're always amazing, and I appreciate all that you do, especially for this podcast, as well as just me personally. You're a great friend, and
Thank you.
I can't. By the way, we went and saw.
For me, double nuts. No.
We went
Thank
and
you
saw
so
a
much.
really cool concert together. I can't thank you enough for that.
Oh yeah, Steve Ryan,
Just
Joseph. Yeah.
man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Sure.
talented guitar player.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, like I always say, story time. The best stories are shared with friends. Get out there and share a pour with a friend, and be a good ear, and don't be afraid to share your own stories and get to know and love one another as brothers, sisters, whatever. Anyway, we'll be back soon, and we'll be releasing these episodes soon. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming with the Authors Guild. I got some big picks coming this year. We've got some Jack Daniels picks we're going to do. We got a Brown Foreman rep that's going to be here at the Schlammering. He's also the one that's hooking us up with an old Forster pick this year. Got a lot of good stuff going on with Backbone and Nolan. If you guys don't know about Backbone, you should know about Backbone. If you've had any of the Backbone picks that I did, you know that stuff is stellar. I would encourage you to find a place where you can get it. There's a few of you that are in states that cannot get it, although I will say it's on shared pour. It delivers to most states nowadays. Check them out. It's good whiskey. It's good affordable whiskey. You don't feel bad about cracking open and sharing with your friend. It's not something you want to put on your shelf and look at. It's something you want to take down and drink. So anyway, with all that said, love you all. And again, best story to share with friends. You all are friends, and I'm not looking for fans. So my best fans are actually my family, believe it or not. My best fan is actually inside right now. My best fan, my grandson.
Yeah.
Dude, I come home or he comes home and like, dude, that's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
I could have 50,000 people in the stadium. It wouldn't mean as much as that.
Absolutely.
Anyway, all right. Love you guys. We'll talk.
Love you guys. Good night.